I'd like to call our meeting to order. It is 6:01 and declare that we do have a board quorum present. If you will please stand, I will lead our invocation, and then our pledges of allegiance will be led by Mr. Ken Schultz. Let's bow your head. Father God, we thank you for today, God, for each and every day. We thank you for this great country that we live in where we're free. Father, we thank you for the ability to come and together, Father, to celebrate and do the business of our district, God, to celebrate our kids, to look over, God, to make decisions, Father, for our district, for all of our employees, Father, for all of our kids and for all of our community. Father, just give us wisdom. Help us to have discernment. And Father, help us to make the very best choices for all those involved. Father, we just ask that you would be with us tonight. Have your hand upon us, God. Just thank you for all of the folks that we have who work here, Father, who attend here. And God, thank you just for letting us be a part of this great Brazosport Independent School District. In your Son's precious and holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. I'd like to ask the board to begin making its way to the front as we transition into our achievements, awards, and recognition time. We will now turn it over to Mr. Jay White.
Good evening. At this time, I would like to invite Brazosport students Tate Currier, McKinley Blank, Ella Atkins, and Raylan Cummings, as well as sponsors Ms. Stephanie Jess, Ms. Lisa Whitlow, and Ms. Rita Pinavali to join us at the front for this recognition. This past July, these outstanding students traveled to Orlando, Florida to a national convention where they presented on projects and events that they implemented at Brazosport High School during the 23-24 school year. These Buccaneers presented on topics such as building positivity A to Z, which focused on building culture and positivity throughout the campus. They also presented on the Klondike Challenge, Rock, Paper, Mardi Gras, and the Brazosport Carnival. These students were able to present their ideas to many different schools from all over the country, as well as getting ideas back from schools nationwide. After all of their hard work and presentations, Brazosport was presented with a Platinum Tier School of Distinction Award at the Awards Gala, which is the highest level of distinction. Brazosport is one of only 84 schools across North America to earn this distinction in 2024. Please join me in congratulating these students, these student leaders, and their sponsors on a great accomplishment.
And you're not rocking on the road right now? It's pretty good. How many cruises you coming?
I go next week on Tuesday.
Isn't that saltwater? Huh? Is it Satan's?
Are you ready?
Yeah. Yes, you did. I'm nervous. What's going on there?
time, I'd like to invite Mr. Daniel Fernandez, Mr. Thomas Torres, and Mr. Stephen Sandin to join Superintendent Massey and our Board of Trustees at the front. The Clute Intermediate School Symphonic Band achieved national recognition when it was named a national winner in the 2024 Mark of Excellence National Wind Band Honors Project. This award, which highlights the highest standards of musical performance, places the band among the top school ensembles in the country. The Mark of Excellence Project is sponsored by the Foundation for Music Education, and this year's competition included over 450 entries from 40 states. Ensembles are judged by nationally renowned adjudicators, with the top quarter earning the title of national winner. This honor places Clute Intermediate Symphonic Band in an elite group of national winners, further underscoring the excellence of Brazosport ISD's music education program. The Clute Intermediate Symphonic Band is directed by Mr. Daniel Fernandez, along with assistant directors Mr. Thomas Torres and Mr. Stephen Sandin. We are delighted to see our students' hard work and talent recognized on the national stage. This award is a reflection of their dedication, the support of our community, and the exceptional direction provided by Mr. Fernandez and his team. Congratulations to the Clute Intermediate Symphonic Band for this outstanding honor.
Great job, great job, great job. I'm sure they took sort of like an audition one or two.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for all y'all doing.
Appreciate you.
Great one, thank you. Appreciate you. Congratulations. Thank you. Appreciate it. Congratulations.
We also have this beautiful poster or banner to be hung in their band hall. So you guys get to hide behind that. Take a picture.
Mr. Red?
Okay.
I'm good.
It's ringing.
Yeah.
Next up, we have our Spotlight Educator Awards for the district. The purpose of our BISD Educator Spotlight Award is to recognize outstanding teachers across our district. These teachers go above and beyond, not only for their students, but for their coworkers as well. When I call your name, if you could please come back, stand by Superintendent Mr. Massey. We have our elementary Spotlight teacher, Miss Melissa Williams, and then secondary Spotlight teacher, Mr. Mario Thomas from LJI. He actually is coaching a football game tonight, so we'll still read what his campus submitted. Mario Thomas from Lake Jackson Intermediate is a PE teacher. He serves and coach and Bible study facilitator. Mr. Thomas has shown to have outstanding support of students and staff. His campus admin team has stated he engages our students in a positive way that allows them to learn, promote unity, and demonstrate a team mentality. He ensures students are always respectful and participates with students in their lessons. He has every class participate in sharing good things and uses character-building strategies when talking to students before ever determining their discipline. Numerous parents have bragged about him and shared what an impact he's making on their students. And for our elementary Spotlight teacher from TWA, we have Mrs. Melissa Williams. She is a special education teacher, an in-class support special education teacher. She was just recently nominated by one of her peers as the Ruby Spotlight Teacher of the Week. Her peers have stated that Melissa is always willing to go the extra mile and do whatever it takes to support even our toughest students. She is selfless in her efforts to ensure her students get what they need. She's an asset to OG, and we couldn't survive without her. Thank you very much for your service.
One, two, three. I like the heights of these people. I'm back. All right. Good evening. It's my pleasure to present our principals, and it's no secret that great schools have great leadership. And for the entire month of October, Brazosport ISD has joined organizations across the state and the country to show appreciation to our school principals. In BISD, our principals are vital to the success of our students. Their leadership inspires teachers to achieve excellence in their classrooms and provide students access to a rigorous and well-rounded education. BISD is proud to recognize the importance of our elementary and secondary principals during Principals Month, and we have joined the Texas Association of the Secondary School Principals in highlighting the significant impact these individuals have made in our schools. As school leaders, principals are entrusted with our most valuable resource, our students, our children. BISD principals are more than just caretakers of their schools. They are caretakers of their school family. Our principals set the academic tone for their school, and it is their vision, dedication, determination that provides the driving force for achieving student success. The motto of the Texas Association of Secondary School Principals is, above all, students first. And the actions of our BISD principals not only exemplify this belief, but they set the standard. BISD campus principals, elementary, please join Mr. Massey and the board when I call your name. Stephen F. Austin, principal, Sherry Minter. Boyle Elementary, she's not able to be here tonight, Laura Morris. Brandon Elementary, Julie Evans. Freeport Elementary, Ron Mercer. Griffith Elementary, Andrea Ham. Lanier Elementary, Timothy Day. Ogg Elementary, Melanie Pearson. Polk Elementary, Mandy Bundick. And Roberts Elementary, Jennifer Slater. At this time, I'd like to pause and take a photo.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Keep working.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Everybody look. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you guys.
Good.
Thank you all so much. At this time, I would like to introduce our secondary principals. Our middle intermediate, Rasco Middle School, Keith Fuller. Clute Intermediate, Tara Fulton. Freeport Intermediate, Charlotte Black. Lake Jackson Intermediate, Cheryl Roberts. And happy anniversary. And now, our high school and alternative campus principal, from Brazosport, Dr. Jarrett Johnson. Academy, Amy Poe. Lighthouse Learning, Herman Haybear. And Brazosport High School principal is on his way, Quentin Burgess.
How do you want to do it?
Can you see Ms. Schulte?
That was Chris Dunn. Can you believe that? The tallest guy here.
Both you guys need to be in the front. Almost.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Wait.
Thank y'all. That's hard.
I actually have the pleasure of doing another one tonight. I have the honor of introducing Ludi Vina. It's Ludi Casino. Ludi, would you please come up? Thank you. She is new to the district, and she is our new Chief Financial Officer. Or new Rebecca. Ms. Cancino, thank you for joining us today and joining Mr. Massey on the dais. Ms. Cancino holds a Bachelor's of Business Administration from the University of Texas Pan-American and brings nearly 2 decades of financial leadership in education, offering a wealth of experience in financial management, strategic planning, and operational excellence to the ISD. Ludi has recently served as a Chief Financial Officer at Dale Valley ISD and Flower Bluff ISD, where she oversaw finance operations in various district departments, including maintenance, transportation, and child nutrition. She has also held financial leadership positions in South San Antonio ISD, Alice ISD, the Rio Grande City CISD, and served as Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations in Donna ISD. Throughout her 19-year career, she has successfully managed multi-million-dollar budgets, spearheaded cost-saving initiatives, and played a pivotal role in maintaining fiscal compliance and transparency. Notably, she has led a successful voter-approved tax ratification election, demonstrating her ability to navigate complex financial landscapes while collaborating with key stakeholders. We in BISD are happy to introduce Ludi Cancino to the board, to our staff, to our guests for this evening. Her experience and her passion for solid fiscal responsibility will continue to ensure that the district will continue to operate on solid financial ground. Welcome.
Hope you like it here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. And you.
Again, they'll take the daughter.
Thank you.
All right. Liz, what are you doing?
And she wants heels so that she won't be short. I'm 5'4" today. I know. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
does conclude our awards and recognition time for this evening. At this time, in accordance with BD Local, the board will provide an audience with individuals who have signed up prior to the meeting to address the board. We do not have any requests to address the board, so we'll move on to our next agenda item. Our next agenda item is our consent agenda. Are there any items requested to be pulled? Jerry's always keeping me straight.
Too bad I wouldn't listen.
We don't have any members in the audience to address the board, so our next item is consent agenda. Are there any items to be pulled from the consent agenda?
Move for approval.
We also allow public comment from individuals that signed up prior to the meeting also to discuss consent agenda, and actually before all items are voted for. So, it has been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries. Public comment will be allowed before a vote is taken on each action item. So our next item on our agenda are our action items. Our first action item is the Brazosport ISD Board of Trustees 89th Legislative Session Advocacy Priorities. Ms. Kelly.
Good evening. The following presentation is in alignment with Board Policy CE. During the 89th Texas Legislative Session, which will begin on January 14th, Brazosport ISD will support legislation that aligns with the district's vision and mission to ensure that BISD is setting the standard for educational excellence and that BISD will graduate each student to be future ready. As a district, we are engaged in advocacy efforts and will maintain relationships with our elected officials to be a resource as they consider legislation that impacts public education. These adopted legislative priorities will serve as a guide to help facilitate conversations with lawmakers and raise greater public awareness about issues at the state level. To accomplish these goals, BISD will support priorities and positions that advocate for the following areas: an increase in education funding, a reform to the assessment and accountability system, revisions to the economic incentive program, and an increase into the teachers' retirement system of Texas. A high-quality and well-funded public education system is essential to help every child reach their full potential. When it comes to state spending on education, Texas ranks in the bottom 10 states in per-student funding and trails the national average by over $4,000. The impact of underfunding our public schools is long-lasting and limits our ability to graduate each student to be future ready. In the next few slides, we'll review 6 key areas that require attention: the basic allotment, enrollment versus ADA funding, special education funding formulas, the safety and security allotment, funding for teacher apprenticeship programs, and a funding index for districts that face high property and windstorm insurance premiums along the coast. It is also crucial for our state legislators to consider the financial implications of legislation that they pass each session. TASA has actually published a 60-page report on school district mandates passed by legislatures to assist school leaders in identifying the most significant and unfunded or underfunded mandates. That's 60 pages of unfunded and underfunded mandates. So important to highlight that as they consider legislation, that they consider the cost impact for school districts to actually implement that. Basic allotment. The current basic allotment is $6,160, which was increased from $5,140 back in 2020. While this was a step in the right direction, the amount is only slightly above what was needed to cover inflation for 2020 and 2021. This amount was not enough to make up for 4 years prior to House Bill 3, when there was no increase provided, nor is it sufficient to cover current inflationary projections. Over the last 4 years, our state has seen double-digit inflation, placing a tremendous amount of pressure on public schools to fund teacher and staff salaries, instructional supplies and materials, cover health insurance costs, energy costs, and property insurance, all which are rising for school districts across the state. As costs continue to rise and no new funding is invested into public schools, districts are being forced to cut important programs in order to stay ahead of fiscal cliffs. The basic allotment should include an inflationary adjustment tied to the Inflationary Consumer Price Index. The chart on the right was published by Dallas Morning News, and if the basic allotment was indexed to inflation, the basic allotment would be $7,567, which would be equivalent to $14 million of funding for Brazosport ISD, which would be sufficient to cover the $11 million deficit that we have adopted. The basic allotment instead remains an arbitrary number, completely void of any policy rationale or measured cost, and with over 50% of districts in the state adopting a deficit budget, clearly is not adequate to meet the operational or educational needs of school districts. So Brazosport ISD supports the creation of an automatic annual adjustment to the basic allotment, which is the per student funding amount, to address inflation and growing needs of our students. Brazosport ISD supports funding formulas to be based on enrollment versus average daily attendance. Texas is only one of 6 states that fund public schools based on average daily attendance. School districts plan and budget based on the number of students enrolled. Every student must be assigned to a campus, a teacher, and have a seat in a classroom. We must be prepared to educate every child every school day, even if the child was absent for a day. If a student misses 9 days during a 172-day school year, the district loses 5% of funding that student, or with a student with perfect attendance, would generate. We still pay a teacher their full salary, even if the student does not have perfect attendance. Funding based on enrollment would provide a more appropriate level of funding for school districts. The state has sufficient funding that should be allocated through appropriations to fund districts on enrollment-based funding. Attendance can be incorporated into the accountability system. It does not belong in the funding system. Brazosport ISD supports funding formulas to be based on enrollment versus average daily attendance. Special education. The current funding formulas for special education services are based on formulas that were set decades ago, based on how much time a student spent in a particular classroom setting. Brazosport ISD supports revisions to the formulas that focus on student needs rather than the amount of time spent in a particular classroom setting. The majority of students with disabilities are spending most of their day in a regular classroom setting versus segregated into classrooms based on disability. Providing inclusive opportunities aligned with evidence-based best practices requires additional support, and the outdated funding formulas do not adequately fund for the true cost of educating students with disabilities in today's learning environment. In Brazosport ISD for fiscal year 2024, so the year we just ended, the current special education funding formulas based on that state outdated funding formula generated $12.3 million in revenue, while the associated cost that we incurred in Brazosport ISD exceeded $15.1 million. That is nearly a $3 million gap in funding, and at the state level, that gap totals over $1.8 billion. And they use federal funds to make up about 13% of that gap. So it's a statewide problem, not a BISD problem. Brazosport ISD supports revisions to the special education funding formula to focus on student need rather than the amount of time spent in a particular classroom setting. Every student needs a safe and healthy educational environment that is conducive to learning in order to meet their full academic potential. Brazosport ISD Board of Trustees have prioritized the health, safety, and security of our students and staff for years, with little to no direct funding from the state. Senate Bill 11 in the 86th legislative session did create the annual school safety allotment to help fund equipment, programs, and trainings related to school safety and security. At that time, that was $9.72 per ADA. And then House Bill 3 in the last legislative session increased that allotment by 27 cents. So increase it from $9.72 to $10 per student in average daily attendance. But they did give us an extra $15,000 per campus, but that came with the requirement that every campus must have an armed person on campus. The current safety allotment for BISD is $370,000, which is far from adequate in funding the actual cost of providing safe and secure schools. Brazosport ISD currently spends over $2.4 million to fund our police department, campus safety specialist, and other ongoing measures to ensure the safety and security of our students and staff. Presented here are just a few options that were presented last session from the Equity Center, and what that allotment under each of those scenarios would bring to BISD, and then also what that cost would be from the state level. So bottom line, security is not based on the number of students and average daily attendance, but it is rather a campus-based need. Also, student behavior management and discipline can pose a challenge on school safety. Chapter 37 of the Texas Education Code outlines the framework for student discipline within our schools, setting boundaries on actions that can be taken. While these regulations aim to maintain consistency, there is a pressing need for greater local control to tailor solutions that effectively foster safe environments where every student can succeed. Brazosport ISD supports additional and ongoing state funding for school safety initiatives with flexibility in how districts utilize these funds and local control for student discipline measures to meet the needs of our local schools and communities. Brazosport ISD has set the standard in developing a K-12 teacher apprenticeship program that is registered with the Department of Labor. Designed to meet the candidate where they are on their journey to become a teacher, our program provides the opportunity to earn a livable wage while going to college to complete their degree with a teaching certification, and also upskill the future teacher along the way through strategic on-the-job training and mentor feedback. Our program provides wraparound services needed to our apprentices to overcome real-life barriers to ensure successful completion, and is producing highly qualified and trained teachers to meet the workforce needs of Brazosport ISD into the future. This program creates an opportunity to upskill and attract new talent to the profession and addresses the shortage of teachers in Brazosport ISD, but also, more importantly, across the state. Texas public schools are currently facing inadequate funding to cover and to effectively serve pre-K through 12th grade students, let alone facilitate affordable pathways for developing our own future workforce. Collaboration and financial support from the tri-agency, which is TEA, TWC, and the Higher Ed Board, are essential to sustain multi-year apprenticeship programs within the education sector. Brazosport ISD was fortunate to receive a grant from the Houston Endowment, which has funded our program and the gaps associated with that program through next year. But Brazosport ISD supports the creation of a funding allotment to develop a pipeline of high-quality teachers to meet our workforce needs and help address the teacher shortage crisis across the state. For Brazosport ISD, property insurance outside of payroll is the single largest expense from our operating budget. Annually, we approach over 30 different insurance carriers, and we have a layered program with a lead carrier just to get base level coverage. This chart provides historical reference with a rate per $100 of total insured value that we have secured in Brazosport ISD. Our current premium is over $3.1 million, but it's only buying 17% of the coverage that we had 3 years ago. So with the new facilities, our total insured values have gone up, and when you couple that with the rate increase, it's simply cost prohibitive given the budget constraints to continue coverage at the same level. Therefore, we have been forced to increase the deductible for named storm. We've elected to self-insure several facilities, and then we've had to reduce the overall limit from $150 million down to $25 million, but we're still paying the same amount. Similar-sized districts located inland get the same funding, so our funding formulas are the same, despite the coastal districts having to pay higher and usually more than double the amount in premiums for half the coverage limit than those school districts inland from us. This creates a multi-million-dollar disparity in funding, and as such, Brazosport ISD supports the creation of a coastal funding index to offset higher insurance premiums for districts along the coast. So over to assessment and accountability. Brazosport ISD supports the repeal of the A through F accountability system. Texas public schools should be held to appropriate standards of quality through a comprehensive assessment and accountability system that incorporates fair measures of achievement based on state and local standards. The current state accountability system is too narrowly focused on a single measure, the STAR test. Brazosport ISD supports an accountability system that evaluates school success more comprehensively rather than one test on one day. Public schools do so much more than prepare students for a single test. In addition to delivering high-quality core curriculum, public schools offer co-curricular and extracurricular programs that connect students with their schools. Beyond academics, schools provide family and student engagement and address health and safety issues. The list of what we do goes on, and it's absurd to be measured and rated on an A through F accountability system, which ignores all the other indicators of school quality that are valued by our local community. Brazosport ISD supports the repeal of the A through F accountability system and the creation of an accountability system that incorporates fair measures of achievement based on state and local standards and reduces testing to those that are only required by state law, or federal law. Also, under accountability and fully aware of the governor's agenda to utilize public funds to support private schools, Brazosport ISD remains in opposition of diverting public funds to private schools with no academic or financial accountability or transparency to the state, to taxpayers, or to local communities. Public dollars must remain in our public schools. Students, parents, communities, and businesses rely on public schools to provide a high-quality education and ensure a bright future for Texas. Furthermore, private schools are not required to comply with federal protections for students with disabilities. Brazosport ISD opposes all efforts to divert public dollars to support private entities with zero accountability. We do, however, support school choice and innovation within our public school system. Brazosport ISD has a long history of successfully utilizing the provisions of the Chapter 313 of the Tax Code to attract large world-size scale investments into our local community. During the 88th legislative session, House Bill 5 created a new incentive program called the Jobs, Energy, Technology, and Innovation, or what we call the JETI Act. While we certainly appreciate the intent to create a new program to replace the provisions of the expired 313 tax code, state legislators need some revisions to ensure the program can provide a comprehensive incentive package to ensure the state of Texas continues to be competitive in attracting new large-scale investments. Brazosport ISD supports the revision of the JETI Act to enable school districts to enables a reasonable tax savings granted to the company to be shared with a participating school district to enhance incentives and benefits to schools, communities, and workforce development. Also adjust the wage requirements to 110% of average county manufacturing wages, and then adjust the jobs requirement back to the previous legislation, which was a minimum of 10. These three revisions will ensure Texas remains competitive with an economic incentive program to attract new business investments for the state. And then lastly, Brazosport ISD supports legislation to increase the state's contribution into the teacher retirement system and for TRS to provide a meaningful cost of living adjustment for TRS retirees. Also, the state continues to face teacher shortages, allowing retirees who have not had a 12-month break in service the opportunity to return to work within a school district without having to forfeit their annuity check, and then also removing the surcharge penalties that school districts have to pay TRS when hiring a retiree, which is $535 a month plus 16.5% of what we pay them, which can be pretty significant. And so you do have a handout of all the priorities placed at your board table, and at this time, administration recommends the Board of Trustees approve the legislative advocacy priorities regarding education funding, assessment and accountability, revisions to the economic incentive program, and the teacher retirement system as presented. Be happy to answer any questions or have discussion.
That's a lot.
Yes.
Could you repeat that?
Retirement portfolio.
Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I got one. Based on our recent conversation with our local representatives, sounds like some type of voucher is happening. And the advice we were provided was to stop focusing on vouchers and start focusing on how to make them the best they can be, and priorities of unfunded mandates and similar type items. And so, I think we need to flood him with as many unfunded mandates that we have out there, whether that be both true regulation, that is on us that we have to have, but also things that we have to do in order to comply with all the different things that Ron and his team have to do, and Rebecca and your team have to do, our teachers have to do in the classroom, special education has to do. We have a lot of things that aren't just, regulations from a hire this person or have this person or fill out this form, but a lot of things that our teachers are having to do daily in a classroom that have nothing to do with education, from a reading, writing, and arithmetic. And so we can remove those things. I know we've all seen the chart of 1970s education in 2024, all the things that the federal government and state government has put upon us, the education system, to fix all ills of society, through education system. It's daunting, and we can remove a lot of those and push for those things, and I think there's some added benefit that we can get, that we can strip out a lot of cost, and even if it's not cost, get back time in the classroom. It's a significant difference to our students and our teachers. I know one of the things he talked about too, or we talked about, or highlighted, Danny did, was some of the training and some of the burden that's being put on our teachers, where we have 10 to 14 days of PD that is required of some of these things, that learn how to stop bleeding and all the different things that they have to do now. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do as a board and as a district to highlight those things and put them in front of them, because if you ask for them, we should give them, and find a way to leave us alone. This was the message that I think we gave them, is stop hurting us. We just want to be neutral for 1 year, that's all. And stop coming after us. So I think it's going to be a crazy session. I think it's going to be, there's a lot of races that were done in opposition to public education, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. The governor, although now that the national election is over, he may not have as big a push to make a national splash from a education standpoint, so that may help us a little bit, because I think he was trying to make a name for himself there a number of times too as well. So we'll see.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, having been in education for a long time, we look at these things here on this list, they didn't just appear. They've been here over the years, and they've festered, and go to the accountability, A through F. Well, you go back, there's been about 6 or 7 different ways we're going to decide how a kid's smart or not. Obviously, nobody has the right answer, because none of it works yet. So I think these are important, and I think at times folks in the community don't see all the evidence and all the information that we have, and I think it's important that we do get this out, let folks know. I know that a guy asked to stop me in church one day and said, tell me about this voucher stuff, what's going on? I kind of looked at him, he said, well, my daughter teaches and she's telling me this and that. I said, well, let your daughter tell what she needs to tell, but it's not good. Anyway, we need to move forward. And like Scott said, I hate to ever reach this point, but we're about at a point where we got to choose the battles we want to fight. And that's a sad state of affairs when it comes to education of our kids in Texas. And I truly believe that. And so hopefully we can get this word out, and if they did something with retirement, I wouldn't mind.
I think they're just for you.
You just have one priority.
Yeah, I got 2 of you.
That doesn't need to be at the top of the list, but no, seriously. And I think you know what I mean. There's a lot of you have parents, kinfolks, friends, retired teachers struggle a lot. So that's something we need to keep in mind.
Well, and the thing not lost, 50% of the schools in the state of Texas are on deficit budget, and BISD is better off than just about every stinking one of them. So that's, a testament to the job we're doing, but we are getting to the point that we've got to decide what we can fund. And the community needs to be aware of that.
I'm not sure our local representative input that they have the votes is totally correct yet.
Yes.
You know, another couple weeks and we'll see, but
We'll get something passed, it's not gonna be what they want, they're gonna get something, so they can say they passed on it.
but it's again, my prediction is not a lot will get done because too much money to try to divvy up, so we'll see.
Any other comments or questions from the board, from the audience? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion we approve the recommendation from administration on legislative priorities
It's been
for
moved
the
by,
for the 89th legislative session. You might want to put that on top of it.
it's been moved by Mr. Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Cuellar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. Carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item that we have on our action items is the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee related action items. Ms. Kelly.
It's much shorter. Our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee was established by the Board of Trustees to ensure that tax dollars are expended as approved by the voters in each of our bond programs. Also to evaluate any proposed changes and communicate accordingly with the Board of Trustees. On September 18th, the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee met and discussed options for funding to construct the replacement pool at Brazosport High School. The current construction estimates are $7.7 million, and the recommendation to fund this project is to utilize $5.2 million that's remaining from the 2019 Brazosport projects, utilize the $38,000 that's still remaining from the pool improvements that were included in the 2014 bond program, and then allocate interest earnings from the 2014 bond program to complete the amount needed to be able to award the guaranteed maximum price contract, which is on schedule for consideration and approval at the November board meeting. So at this time, administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the 2014 and 2019 reallocation in preparation for the Brazosport Pool GMP as presented and approved by the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Will this be an above ground pool or is it gonna be in the ground?
Outdoor and ground.
Do we include state championship banners?
Yeah. 2 of them,
Two of them.
Maybe not even a banner, a real
Yeah,
thing.
maybe we can do tile work, put it at the bottom. Right.
Any other comments?
No need for approval.
Mr.
Reinhardt.
Mr. Reinhardt has moved for approval. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Dunn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. Carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The only reason I did that, my eye doctor's here and I can't see if I.
You have an appointment this month?
Next item that we have on our action items is to consider bond planning committee. Ms. Kelly.
Board policy section CCA and CB legal provide the necessary framework for managing our district resources effectively and for planning for future needs. Within this context, we are exploring the potential of a bond election for May 2025. This bond aims to address critical areas such as maintenance, technology, safety and security, and capital equipment, all essential to providing our students with a safe and conducive learning environment. Historically, our district has successfully utilized voter-approved bond programs in 2012, 2014, and 2019. Each of these programs has been overseen by our active Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. The committee plays a crucial role in ensuring transparency and accountability by monitoring bond expenditures, project schedules, and timelines, which gives assurance to the public that funds are being used as they were intended and approved by our voters. The 2019 bond program was pivotal in meeting our anticipated maintenance, technology, safety, security, and capital equipment through 2024. As we look ahead, our district administrative team has proactively conducted a needs assessment to identify ongoing requirements in these areas, ensuring that we are prepared for the future. One of the challenges we face is the lack of state legislative support for school funding, which has placed increasing constraints on our general fund. As such, the continued use of bond programs to meet our district's needs without causing additional burden to the general fund is essential. Fortunately, thanks to a strong industrial tax base, our district has the capacity to issue voter-approved bonds within the current interest and seeking tax rate. This means that we can pursue the necessary improvements in capital needs without requiring an increase to the tax rate. Strategy 5.2 of our strategic plan aims to create safe and secure and flexible facilities capable of adapting to our ever-changing educational needs. The superintendent and board of trustees will form a bond planning committee engaging a diverse group of community stakeholders in the development and planning for a potential bond for an election in May of 2025. The committee will have several key objectives. Firstly, it will assess our current district needs, evaluate facilities, infrastructure, and educational needs to identify priorities for a future bond proposal. Secondly, it will engage with the community to foster transparent dialogue, gather input, and build broad-based support for a future bond program. Thirdly, the committee will develop a comprehensive bond proposal or proposals that align with the district's goals, address identified needs, and ensure fiscal responsibility, ultimately recommending these to the BISD school board for consideration. Lastly, the committee will ensure that community members stay informed about the bond planning process, proposals, and their impact, thereby maintaining our facilities and ensuring our students continue to receive quality education. The committee structure will include community members, parents, teachers, district staff, local business leaders, and other key stakeholders. Meetings are scheduled for 5:30 p.m. on November 7th, November 21st, and December 5th. Through collaboration and informed decision-making, the Bond Planning Committee will play a vital role in shaping the future of Brazosport ISD, culminating in a recommendation to the Board of Trustees in January 2025 for the bond referendum to be placed on the May 2025 ballot. At this time, administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the development of a Bond Planning Committee. I will say I've placed a handout of the committee list at your board station. So if you'd like to add anyone to the committee, please email Danny or I, and we'll get them added. So, thank you.
Any questions? Ms. Keller, from the board?
This is like deja vu.
Any comments or questions from the audience? All right, we have a recommendation from the administration. Do you hear a motion?
Make motion to accept the recommendation.
It's been moved by Mr. Schulte to accept the recommendation from the administration. Do you hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Atkins. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay.
Thank you.
All right, let's get it done. Next item that we have on our agenda on our action items is course offerings and additions by Mr. Brian Cole.
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy EH Local and Brazosport ISD Goal 1, Brazosport ISD will provide a rigorous and relevant learning experience to ensure that every student will be future ready. I am pleased to present the new course addition proposal this evening. This course has been reviewed by campuses, the Educational Planning Guide Committee, and the District Educational Improvement Committee. There is one new course for approval at the high school level this year. It is called the CTE Project-Based Capstone. This course provides a one-period, one-credit option for students, normally in their senior year, to participate in a practicum-like experience when their schedule does not allow a multi-period option. This course would not result in any additional expenses because it would be embedded in current courses such as practicums. It provides ultimately a one-period option when a 2- or 3-period option does not work for a student's schedule. Students in the following programs of study on the slide would be able to take advantage of this one-period option for their coursework in their senior year. The administration recommends that the board approve the course addition as presented. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Yes, sir. Mr. Atkins.
anticipate any difficulty in getting, the practicum sources for these students to participate in?
No, so the most likely case for these courses will be students that, as counselors are building their schedules, realize that a 2 or 3 period schedule is not going to work for them, and will probably ask the student if they would like to be in the 1 period option instead. So some of the courses, like in agriculture and things along those lines, where we're building things, and most kids can fit a 2 or 3 period block in their schedule, but some can't. So this will give them the opportunity to still participate in that project their senior year, and not have to choose or something else, or not complete a program of study. So I think it'll be more of the 2 or 3 period practicum doesn't work, so here's the option that we have.
Well, would you think they'll be able to go for an hour, say, at the hospital for some?
So at the hospital,
Or something, or some health office of some sort?
right, so that's a great question. So health informatics is the only of the health programs that would apply to, and they don't really have an on-site at a clinical location where they're doing that kind of work. So it's kind of particular about the different programs of study that it can work within, and of course, most likely if they have to travel, a 1 period is not going to work for their schedule. But that's a great question.
I think this is important because we've had kids before that couldn't participate in athletics because they needed something in their schedule. They couldn't do this, and so this is an opportunity, at least they can get an hour of it a day.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, comment? Audience? All right, hearing none, then we have a recommendation for the administration to approve the course edition as presented. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Mr. Dunn, do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Reinhardt. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries well. Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Thank you.
Next item that we have on our agenda as action items is the 2024-2025 campus and district performance objectives. Mr. Ron Redden.
Good evening. In compliance with Board Policy BQ Legal and in alignment with each district goal, it's my pleasure to present for approval the 2024-2025 district and campus performance objectives. Copies of the performance objectives are included as attachments in your board book. Each year, the district and each campus are required to create an improvement plan that targets identified needs. Performance objectives in each plan identify the areas of focus for the coming year. Texas Education Code requires that performance objectives be approved by the Board of Trustees annually. District and campus performance objectives are written to align with the 5 district goals. This year, each elementary school included 2 performance objectives under District Goal 1 that align with the board-approved House Bill 3 early literacy and numeracy outcome goals. Each high school included a performance objective that aligns to the board-approved House Bill 3 CCMR outcome goal. Tonight's presentation will feature the 2024-2025 district performance objectives. As a reminder, the campus performance objectives are included in your board book, and the principals recorded videos for you where they highlighted their campus priorities. As you read each slide, the performance objective is written with the performance target for each objective stated below. We begin with District Goal 1. 3 of the 4 2024-2025 district performance objectives are featured on this slide. They are the 3 outcome goals the board set for early literacy, early numeracy, and CCMR under House Bill 3. The 24-25 early literacy performance target is 58%. For math, it's 60%, and for CCMR, it is 68%. The 4th performance objective under Goal 1 is the district's House Bill 4545 goal. The performance target for this objective is to close the gap between the performance of the targeted intervention groups and both the state and traditionally higher performing groups on STAR assessments. Goal 2 has 2 performance objectives. The first one focuses on the health and safety of students. This year, 10 or more strategies to ensure the health and safety of students and staff in all learning environments improvements will be implemented. The second performance objective focuses on the mental health and developmental needs of students. This year, 11 strategies will be implemented to support the mental health and developmental needs of students. There are 3 performance objectives under Goal 3. The first one will raise awareness in the community and among staff members for legislative advocacy to support the district's legislative priorities. The second will communicate the need for a bond referendum, and the third will promote and communicate the safety and security measures currently in place to protect students and staff. If successfully implemented, we will see greater community support of the BISD legislative advocacy priorities, passage of the 2025 bond referendum, and increases in the percentages of parents and students who say they would recommend their school to another student, person, or family. There are 2 performance objectives under Goal 4. One, to continue improving the technology infrastructure, and one, to improve student performance on state-required measures by providing supplemental federal funds to support instruction and programs. The performance objective the performance target for performance objective 1 is to implement 3 strategies that support improving the technology infrastructure. The performance target for performance objective 2 is to meet or exceed the early literacy and numeracy targets, as well as to see a 10% increase in the MEETS grade level performance of groups identified as underperforming in 2024. Goal 5 also has 2 supporting performance objectives. The Human Resources Department will continue to improve upon programs they launched over the last 3 years. Those programs include the Registered Apprentice Program, the Preferred Substitute Program, partnerships with universities, and the Teacher Incentive Allotment. Some of the professional learning performance objective targets are to continue work on the K-12 curriculum and Tier 1 instructional priorities, and to implement the district professional development plan with an emphasis on improving the level of pedagogy in core subject classrooms, and to continue with principal leadership development. Additionally, new to the district, K-3 teachers will be provided with the opportunity to attend the House Bill 3 Literacy Achievement Academy to support them as they implement components of the training in their classroom instruction. Tonight's presentation focused on the 2024-2025 district performance objectives. As mentioned earlier, the campus performance objectives are in your board book. Campus performance objectives align to the work the district is doing, but are tailored to individual campus identified needs. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the 2024-2025 district and campus performance objectives. At this time, I'm happy to answer any clarifying questions you or the audience may have.
Any questions from the board?
Back to Goal 3.
Yes, sir?
You keep showing that picture, I'm gonna have to get a new coat.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is you should have worn your red shirt tonight. Yeah, you could.
Any other comments?
I digress.
I appreciate the, videos and the presentation we got from all the principals. Mr. Berger, you're the only one still here. Oh, Dr. Johnson, see, but his doesn't count because he didn't let me in his. I was unable to see it. It said, access denied. Well, I appreciate you letting me read yours.
We actually know why you were accessed tonight, but we won't pass that on this way.
Any comments from the audience? Questions from the audience before we move on? All right, we have a recommendation from the administration. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the district and campus performance objectives for the 2024-2025 school year.
Second.
It's been moved by the guy who needs a new coat. And seconded by Mr. Shortman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. have under our action items is class size exceptions for West Brandon Elementary School. Ms. Rita Cundiff.
All right, good evening. In accordance with Board Policy, EEB Local, and in alignment with District Goal, BISD campuses will be safe and conducive to learning. I'm requesting that the Board of Trustees approve the class size exception waiver for West Brandon Elementary School. The district seeks to maintain a 22-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio in grades K through 4. Prior to the approval of the Local Innovation Plan in May of 2017, the district was required to submit maximum class size exception waivers to TEA at different times throughout the school year. With fluctuating classroom enrollment counts common to our elementary schools, classes would be approved for a state waiver and then go back to or under 22-to-1 ratio. As the case in this, which I'll explain a little bit later. The Local Innovation Plan provision for class size exception provides the district with the flexibility to monitor class sizes for a longer period of time before determining to seek an exception from the Board of Trustees. The district is now exempt from the state law requiring a district to seek a waiver when the classes exceed 22-to-1 ratio for 30 days. Under the district's innovation, should a class size exceed 22-to-1 for more than 35 days, the Board of Trustees must approve the exception. The options that we would have, should a classroom exceed 22-to-1 for more than 35 days, are to hire another teacher, add a second certified teacher for a co-teach class, or add a paraprofessional in accordance with the district staffing ratios. The class size exception for the 22-to-1 ratio requirement allows students to remain with the teacher and classmates with whom they began the school year, which fosters the continuity and stability needed to support increased student learning. West Brandon Elementary had 3, and just in the last week now has just 2 first grade classrooms that exceed the 22-to-1 ratio for 35 days. As noted, a resident apprentice and 1 paraprofessional apprentices are currently assigned to the classes and will remain supporting these classes if the exception is granted by the Board of Trustees. It is in the opinion of the principal that continuing with the current instructional arrangement will render the least disruption to student learning and the likelihood of the ratio eventually dropping below the 23-to-1. As noted earlier, it was 3, and just in the last week has dropped down to just 2 classes that are above the 22-to-1 ratio. It is the administration's recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve a class size exception for Brandon Elementary School's first grade classrooms that are currently above the 22-to-1 class size ratio. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, the apprentices, which on-ramp?
We have a resident apprentice in one of the classes, and then a on-ramp, is it 4? On-ramp 4.
Oh.
She's doing her student teaching there, and then we have an apprentice paraprofessional in one of the classes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And this was the principal's recommendation to Beth.
And the teachers. The teachers wanted to keep their students.
Any questions from the audience? All right. Hearing none, we have a recommendation from the administration.
Well, not being a big fan of the waivers, I will make a motion to approve the waiver request.
It's been moved by Mr. Atkins, or second by Mr. Schulte. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed by nay. Carries. Thank you, Ms. Cundiff.
Thank you.
Next item that we have on our agenda are reports. Do we have any reports from the, I'm sorry, the next item that we have under reports is the language acquisition program evaluation. Sorry, I had links on this.
Get my steps.
Ms. Cundiff.
All right, good evening again, Mr. Massey and School Board. In accordance with the Texas Administrative Code, TAC 89.1265, which requires all districts to conduct an annual evaluation, I will be sharing information as it relates to the Language Acquisition Department program for the 23-24 school year. The Language Acquisition Department consists of one coordinator, Tracy Thomas, who's here with us tonight, 4 LPAC clerks, and Griselda Flores, our parent and family liaison. We're excited to add an emergent bilingual instructional coach to our team this year. Brenda Oros, who's also with us tonight, has been a bilingual teacher in our district for 12 years, as well as our district elementary teacher of the year. And she will be using her experience and expertise to support our district bilingual and ESL teachers, primarily at the elementary level. Together, we serve the emergent bilingual students and families at the ISD. In our district, we have students speaking 21 different languages. Interestingly, Spanish and Vietnamese remain the 2 highest languages spoken by our emergent bilingual students, and our 3rd highest language is now Russian, with 6 speakers. Other languages are Japanese, Cambodian, Punjabi, Hindi, Gujarati, and Tagalog. So we have many, many more.
You speak all those?
With Google Translate, I do.
Just walk around your phone.
Yeah. For the 23-24 school year, Brazosport ISD increased the number of bilinguals to 1,644. This number is a substantial increase following the return from COVID in 2021. However, after increasing the number of students exiting, which we will discuss later in the presentation, we are currently serving 1,548 emergent bilingual students. The standard exit criteria changed for the 23-24 school year. The criteria for reclassification required students in grades 3 through 8 to pass STAR reading in English and score advanced high composite or average of the listening, speaking, reading, and writing on TELPAS. Students in grades 9 through 12 must pass English 1 and 2 EOC and score advanced high composite or average in the listening, speaking, reading, and writing TELPAS composite. We anticipated that, that was an additional exit criteria as listed on this table for non-STAR tested grades. So non-STAR tested grades in the younger grades, and then 11th and 12th graders have a different exit criteria instead of STAR. We did anticipate the change and are happy to report that this change helped many of our students meet the reclassification, which you can see here. The recent changes to the reclassification requirements helped many of our students meet the exit criteria after missing it by 1 domain in previous years. This 5-year historical data shows a significant increase in students exiting once the criteria was changed that required students scoring advanced high in each domain to then scoring advanced high and an average of those domains. Of the 194 that had an advanced high composite, we were able to exit 137 of those students. And then again, as previously mentioned, our 11th and 12th graders who do not take STAR must take the Iowa Test of Basic Skills and still meet the TELPAS requirements. Overall, we're happy with the reclassification results and will work to help all of our students who qualify to meet those reclassification requirements. Our LPAC and ARC committees continue to work collaboratively to ensure students who qualify for both special services and ESL bilingual are also receiving appropriate support. As previously mentioned, there were many factors that played into exiting. Historically, our elementary schools have less students exit because in Brazosport ISD we offer a transitional late bilingual model. The focus of the transitional late model is to transfer a student to English-only instruction not earlier than 2 or later than 5 years after they enroll in school. Last year, we focused on providing additional support to students that were close to exiting. If they had an average of advanced, Then they were scheduled into a monitor class at Freeport Include Intermediate. Ms. Tracy Thomas worked with the administration team at those campuses as well as the ESL teachers to help those students get past that advanced level and push them to advanced high. And you can see in this table that both of those campuses had high exit numbers. Regarding professional development plan for this school year, our goal is to train all teachers and campus administrators in language supports to ensure the needs of our emergent bilinguals are met in all of those different languages. Additionally, we are continuing our efforts to get as many teachers ESL certified and will offer support for test prep and reimbursement of their certification exam. We currently have 315 ESL certified teachers in the district, which is 5 more than last year. On the 15th of this month, we offered an ESL test prep course, and we had 40 teachers that took advantage of that. And Ms. Thomas will be working with Region 4 to help support them as they complete their ESL certification. Furthermore, both of these ladies, Ms. Thomas and Ms. Oros, will be conducting ESL and bilingual PLCs, different trainings for our teachers, as well as helping in those classrooms support those students. Our parent and family liaison continues to focus on training the parents of emergent bilinguals, primarily in 7th through 12th grade. Some of her training includes showing parents how to check grades, how to check attendance, how to send an email to a teacher in English. She also communicates with them regularly on the Remind app. She has over 300 parents that she communicates with regularly on the Remind app. We will also conduct our required trainings for compliance. Again, that is to ensure that our students are tested, qualified, placed, and all approved for bilingual ESL programs. And this is a report only, no action is required. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Comments?
Yeah, so with the change in criteria, the people who are the emerging ones are leaving the program. They're ready for regular school, right? I mean, it's like, it's just one little thing was holding them back.
Correct.
From
Correct. And then we are required to monitor them for 4 years after that. And so we are monitoring grades, we hold LPACs for them, and then if we see there's a decline, then we do offer additional support. But historically, we have seen when they meet that exit criteria, they're very successful once they meet it. It is stringent criteria once they meet it. We have an ESL teacher with us tonight, Ms. Mixon, also at Brazosport.
Thanks for including the number of ESL teachers. I didn't have to answer.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, we're adding more and more.
Good.
I had the opportunity to sit in on a tip session that Ms. Oros and Ms. Thomas presented. And they did a great job there. A lot of things you don't know. A lot of things you don't know.
Our teachers are working really hard to support the students in all of those different languages.
Any comments or questions from the audience? All right, thank you, Ms. Cummings.
Thank you.
Now to board committee reports. Do you have any committee reports from our board members? Joe?
I'd just like to thank Mr. Virgil. I know you had to be detained, but I'm proud of what you've done at Brazosport High School as the principal there, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Coach. God be glory.
Because class of 1966 is still alive.
Glad to see you, Mr. Virgil. Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Howard.
Did you get your mug? That was worth the trip.
Thank you.
Just the mud.
Any other comments from the audience, from the board? All right. Hearing none then, our next work session, our next regular scheduled board meeting will be November the 18th, right here. Next thing that we have on our agenda is executive session. It may be called for the purposes permitted by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, sections 551.071 through 551.146, sections 551.071, consultation with attorneys, sections 551.071 on any agenda item, sections 551.72 for the purpose of discussing the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of property, sections 551.074 personnel matters, appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, dismissal, or complaint, sections 551.082 for the purpose of considering discipline of a public school child or complaint or charge against any personnel. We shall return shortly. No, sorry. We're returning from executive session. The time is 8:52. Unless there are any objections,